Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to the channel. I am Birdman Johnson, and we are kicking off Spooky Season 2024 with a game we saw last year during Spooky Season 2023. This is Dead End Road by DDD Wares. We're going to do things a little differently this time. First of all, since the last time I played this, which was the last time you saw it here on the channel, I've looked up a few tips to hopefully make the run go a little smoother. But also, this won't just be a straight gameplay video. Last time I did this, I mentioned that what we might do is just have the game running in the background while I tell you, the viewers, a road trip story. So that's what we're going to do here. I am going to start the game, and the game will be running in the background if you want to watch it. If not, enjoy the game, enjoy the story. Here we go. This is the story of the time Washington State tried to stop me from leaving it. For those of you unfamiliar with American geography, in the upper left corner of the contiguous states is the state of Washington, not to be confused with Washington, D.C., our national capital. North of Washington is Canada, condolences Washington, and south of Washington is Oregon, where I live. Between Washington and Oregon is the Columbia River, which forms the border between the two states, and usually, when moving from one state to the other, you have to cross the river. At the west end of the river, not quite at the coast, is Portland. Now, I don't live in Portland, I live near Portland, but for purposes of this story, let's just say I live in Portland. My wife has family in the Tri-Cities, which is in southeastern Washington. It's about a 4-hour drive from Portland, but it's an easy drive. You just pick a highway and drive until you get there. So, we go to visit my wife's family in the Tri-Cities. We drive the 4 hours there, we spend a couple of nights, and then we head out in the evening to go back to Portland. I have a martial arts competition in the morning, so we'll get back late, but I should still be able to get to bed in good time and rest up. Now, when you're driving from the Tri-Cities to Portland, there are two good ways to do it, and the only difference is which side of the river you want to drive on. The Washington route, you drive south from the Tri-Cities on Interstate 82, hang a right at Plymouth, which is right on the river, drive west on State Route 14 until you get to Vancouver, and then turn left and head south across the river. As soon as you cross the bridge, you're in Portland. Job done. The Oregon route, you still head south from the Tri-Cities on 82, but you bypass Plymouth and cross the river. You kind of skirt around Umatilla, which is directly across from Plymouth on the Oregon side of the river, and eventually, I-82 terminates at Interstate 84. So you hang a right onto 84, and you drive west until you get to Portland. Easy. Except, this time, it got a little weird. It's not like anything happened exactly, and that's what really bothers me about it. If some guy with a knife had jumped out of the bushes and chased us down the road, that would have been something happening, and I could just be like, hey, a guy chased us with a knife, and it was really scary. But here it was just environmental strangeness, I guess, and I'm not really sure what happened. Anyway. So we start out driving at like 7 or 8 in the evening. Should get back pretty close to midnight. It's easy. We've done it before. We've done it several times before. And before anyone says something like, oh, why didn't you just follow your GPS? This was before everyone was rocking smartphones and could just call up Google Maps whenever they got lost. A GPS device was still like a specialty item that you had to go buy and put in your car. So if you're too young to remember a time before all of your devices were constantly reporting your location, getting lost and wandering around on back roads was a thing that used to happen sometimes on long drives. It was just a fact of our existence that we accepted. At first, everything is fine. We decide we're going to drive on the Oregon side this time, so we're going to cross the river first, then head west. Easy. I keep using that word, easy, because it should have been easy. So we're driving, and after a while, we realize that we've been driving longer than it should have taken us to get to the river. It's very dark, there are no lights on the road, there are no other cars on the road. So we slow down a little to get a better look at things, as far as we can in the dark, and we're peering out into the darkness, and we realize that despite having taken no exits, we have somehow gotten off of I-82. Very odd. Fortunately, after a little while, we find one of those little off-highway clusters with a gas station and a convenience store and a Taco Bell. And we pull in, and we go into the convenience store to get a map, because we've realized by now that at some point, we took all the maps out of the car. Side note, for any younger viewers watching this who grew up with ubiquitous cell phones and GPS, get a map of your area, learn how to read it, and keep it in your car. Devices will fail you. A halfway decent highway map will not. Unless something weird happens, like in this story I'm telling you right now, in which case it doesn't matter what precautions you've taken because the universe is now conspiring against you. Anyway. So we go into the store, and we're looking at the maps, and the clerk sees us looking at the maps and asks us where we're trying to go. We tell him we're just trying to get across the river into Oregon, and so he unfolds a map and shows us, well, in order to get here from the Tri-Cities to where we are right now, you have to take this particular exit off of I-82. So somehow, you took a 90-degree turn off the road and didn't notice. Just go back the way you came, and when you get to the highway, take a left. Easy. So we buy some snacks, we'll get back in the car, and we start driving. Note here that we have neglected to get any gas while we are at the gas station. We drive, we get back to the highway, we take a left. No idea how we managed to get off the highway, but we're back on it now. And so we drive, and the road's twisting and turning, and after a while we start to think, hey, we should have been at the river by now. I finally have the presence of mind to look up at the moon, and I realize, hey, we're heading north. How are we heading north? There were a lot of curves in the road, but we shouldn't be heading north. So my wife says, forget it, we'll just keep going north, go back to the Tri-Cities, and start over. So that's what we do. It's about 10 p.m. at this point. I have accepted that I'm going to go to bed late and be a little tired for my competition in the morning. It's fine. Whatever. Let's just get home. We start out going south again, and everything's fine. And then, again, say it with me, we realize that we've been driving longer than we should have without crossing the river. I take a look at the moon, and we're heading west. Fine. That's fine. West is good. We'll just drive west until we get to Vancouver. No problem. Everything is fine. Except the road we're on somehow isn't State Route 14, and it's not going anywhere we recognize. Fortunately, there's another one of those highway clusters down the road, so we pull in at the gas station. We do not buy gas, and we go in to ask someone where we are. The clerk points out on the map where we are. He can't figure out how we got there from the Tri-Cities if we were aiming for Oregon, but he shows us on the map that if we just keep driving west, we'll sort of shadow 14 and we'll eventually get where we want to go. Fine, let's roll. We get back in the car. We drive west. Everything's going fine. And then we realize we're somehow heading south, which, you know, still fine, as long as we get to the river at some point. The entire point of this exercise is to cross the river into Oregon. We just need to be in Oregon because all the roads on that side of the river link up to I-84, and I-84 is a big, giant road, and there's no way we can get lost once we're on it. Then we see a sign informing us that we're entering an Indian reservation. Okay, that's not where the road's supposed to go, but we're still going south, so let's just go for it. Worst case scenario, someone makes us turn around and go back. Except that the road through the reservation is, let's say, weird. It's a long, straight road with no lights. So again, it's the car with the headlights and everything outside that is completely dark. And by the way, we are still the only car on the road. We have passed not one other car the entire time we've been driving. And as we're driving through the reservation, on either side of us, the earth has been piled up to form walls all along the road, so we can't see anything further than the shoulder. But it doesn't matter anyway, because there are no turnoffs at any point. There is no way to get off this road except to pull a U-turn and go back the way we came. But we're heading south, so we just keep going. And then the road turns right 90 degrees. Fine, we're heading west now. Also good. And then the road turns right 90 degrees again, and now we're heading north. Less fine. I'll spare you the next bit because nothing really happens, But suffice to say that a little after midnight, we crawled back into the Tri-Cities, out of gas, and totally bewildered. We are now 4 hours into our 4-hour drive back home, and have not even laid eyes on the river. I guess the smart thing to do would have been to go back to my wife's family's place, stay the night, head back in the morning, and I just don't go to my competition, but we're a little freaked out and tired, and still, for some reason, confident that we can beat whatever's messing with us. So we roll back into town, down some random side road that we're not sure how we got on, and miraculously, there's an open gas station right there when we enter the city limits. We don't even bother to ask for directions this time. We just get gas and, once again, fully prepared to die, start driving south. This time we found the river, crossed over, took a right onto 84, got home around 4 a.m., and went straight to bed. And if you're wondering, I did go to my competition just a few hours later, and I did pretty well. I took first in a couple of events. I took second in a couple of other events. It was okay. Not my best, not my worst. We still don't know what happened to us that night, or that morning even, by the time we were done, but we've driven between Portland and the Tri-Cities a few more times since then, without incident. Whatever happened that night, it hasn't happened again, and we've never gotten that lost again, so it's fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. This is actually a really good object lesson, so I want to leave you with some advice, viewers. A man named Peter Kummerfeld, he was the best survival teacher that I had as a boy. He likes to say that staying found is better than getting lost. Which sounds obvious, but bear with me. Whenever you go somewhere, know where you're going, know how you're going to get there, and make sure that someone else, someone not on the trip with you, also knows those things. GPS is great, but you should always have a map, and if you realize that you're lost, just stop moving for a minute, take a break, and try to get your bearings. Panicking and running off into the dark will, obviously, always make everything worse. Of course, all of this goes right out the window when the roads begin rearranging themselves, and occult forces conspire to stop you from getting home at a reasonable hour. Do with that information what you will. Stay safe, stay spooky, stay tuned for more stories. Okay, well, it looks like that's where our run ends today. I was kind of hoping to hit that gas station, pick up that hitchhiker, and fix our car in the next town. Oh well, these things happen. We will be revisiting Dead End Road in the future, don't you worry. Alright, hope you folks enjoyed the story. And that's gonna do it for today. So hey folks, thanks for watching. Thanks to those of you who are subscribed to the channel. Thanks to those of you who are not yet subscribed to the channel. And thanks as always to those of you watching this without ever intending to subscribe to the channel, because you count too. Every view counts. We will be back here tomorrow and every single day this month with more content. Dwarf Fortress on Mondays, horror content on Saturdays, lots of other stuff on the channel for you to watch. Feel free to drop some suggestions for content you'd like to see on the channel. That was a long pause. If you've got some stuff on your channel that you think I need to see, let me know so I can check it out. I'm going to let you folks go. I'll see you again tomorrow. And until then, Birdman out.